Great morning, great morning, great morning. You guys come on in. Come on in. And while you guys are coming in, I'm going to go ahead and share. Okay. Great morning. Na, 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 na. Hold on, let me turn on this Wi-Fi. All right, there we go. Great morning, you guys. Happy hump day. Let me go ahead and share. So bear with me while I'm sharing. All right. Now let me share to these groups. We're going to take off. All right, you guys. All right. Those shares taken care of. Let me share on IG. Let me know who's here and where you're tuning in from. Let me know who's here and where you are tuning in from. As I hit these shares real quick. All right. Give you guys a second to come on in. And we're going to get started. Oh, this word today. My God, my God. My God, my God. My God, my God. So today, you guys, I am talking about God's divine timing. And one of the things that I know about God's divine timing is it is just that divine. I have literally watched God do some of the most amazing things, but not in my timing, in his timing. You know, a lot of times we have our timing when we think things should be done, how we think things should be done. And then there is God's timing, which is absolutely impeccable. Now, while you guys are coming in, let me go ahead and I'm going to share something with you. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to get there. Okay. All right. So many times in our lives, we find ourselves in positions where we're waiting on God to do something. We're waiting on God. God has given us a promise. He's given us a word. He said, you know, hey, I'm going to do this, right? And we haven't seen it happen. And it may be a day, it may be a week, it may be a month, it may be months, it may be a year, and it hasn't yet happened. But God told us it was going to happen. He told us that he was going to do it. And then we get frustrated because, listen, God, when are you going to do it? Because you told me you were going to do it, but you haven't done it. The thing about God's divine timing is this. Hey, my hubby. Oh, it's good to see you comment. The thing about God's timing is this: God's timing is impeccable. Anytime there is something that is not happening yet, y'all notice the key word? Yet. Anytime there's something that's not happening yet, there's a reason it hasn't happened yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen. It simply means that there's some things, some prerequisites, some things that God is doing that will not allow what it is to happen yet. Now, the beautiful thing too about God's divine timing is this. Listen, he knows exactly when to let it happen. He knows when you're ready for it. He knows when everything's going to flow. He knows all of those things. And he understands that in our humanity, we can often mess some things up because we want to rush his timing. We want to move out of our understanding and knowledge, our desire, and without regard to his timing. Now, when we do this, we run the risk of messing some stuff up that God is doing. But the good news, okay? So you do something, it's not in alignment with God's timing, and it looks like you just messed it up. Looks like you messed it up. Now I know y'all are wondering, why are you smiling talking about I messed it up or you messed it up? Like, why are you smiling when you say that? Hey, April, great morning, gorgeous. We can't mess up God's plans. Literally, he will find another way to get us back to where we need to be. When you understand that all things, even those things that look like mess ups, work together for your good, and God knew you were going to do it, it alleviates some of that pressure that we feel to be perfect. See, talking about God's divine timing is not talking about how you have to get everything right based on God's timing. It's talking about how God's timing is always impeccable. So no matter how many times you miss it, no matter how many times you don't get it, God already knew and he already had a plan prepared. I know when we read the Bible, it seems as though when we're talking about Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden, that Adam and Eve messed everything up. But God knew what was going to happen and already had a plan for the salvation of humanity, even before he created humanity. When you spend your life trying to be perfect, when you spend your life trying to get everything right, because you feel like that's the only way that you're going to be loved, it creates this perfectionistic tendency, right? It creates this need to get everything right that's often frustrating, anxiety producing, and depressing, if we be honest, because we'll never get everything right. But when you understand that even our mess ups, God already knew about and had a plan to still get us to where we're going in his divine timing, that alleviates that pressure. Good morning, Charla. Congratulations on the new grandbaby. Woo! Yes, Charla has a new grandbaby. We are super excited for them. That is amazing. I'm excited for you, girl, because I know what that is, right? I know what that is. I just want to encourage you today that God's timing is divine. His divine timing works perfectly concerning everything in your life, relationships, business, your own personal growth, everything. Everything. Well, let's talk about it, right? We're talking about Charlotte's new grandbaby, right? When women find out they're pregnant, they get a due date. They get a due date. Initially, the due date is based on their last menstrual cycle. Okay. Initially, it's based on that. But as you go along and they're able to measure the baby and then it'll be based on the baby's measurements. So your due date may be adjusted, right? Even even though they give you a due date, a date the baby is due to be born, it does not mean the baby's going to come on that day, unless, of course, they schedule an induction, right? And they induce labor. Even then, there's no guarantee because the baby could come before, okay? But you have a due date that's an expected or anticipated due date for the baby to be born. But God knows the day the baby's going to be born before the baby's ever conceived. And the baby's going to be born in God's divine timing. Now, having had a few of those, I had a few babies, a few. I only went into labor naturally one time. The other times it was induced. Well, two times. But the rest of the times it was induced. And it was induced because of the problems I had in my labors, right? So we already knew that, my water just tended not to break naturally. We already knew that I had some trouble. So we scheduled a due date, an induction date, a date to be induced to have the baby, right? Now that date may be a little after the due date, may be a little before the due date. We had some flexibility with it, right? But it wasn't necessarily on the exact due date. But when we scheduled the induction, we knew that that day the baby's supposed to come unless the baby comes before. You all, there's a due date attached to everything concerning you. And I'm not talking about your due date. I'm talking about God's due date. I'm talking about God's divine timing of when it's going to happen for you. He knows. He knows. He knows. I know he knows. He knows. Now that's who knows. He knows exactly when it's going to happen. But because we don't know, we get frustrated because we don't know. We get agitated because we don't know, or it's not happening according to our schedule. We get frustrated. But baby, there ain't no timing like God's timing. When I say that God's divine timing is impeccable, it is impeccable. It happens exactly when it's supposed to happen, exactly how it's supposed to happen. And it's always better than you thought that it was going to be. And his plan is always better than your plan, my plan, our plans. I'll give you an example. Another example. Okay. So let's talk. We're going to talk timing. We're going to talk timing. Let's talk timing. Hey, my baby. We're going to talk timing, right? God knew exactly when for us to get the girls. Knew exactly when we needed them. We needed them. It wasn't just they needed us or my daughter needed us. It was needed them. Because God was trying to produce some things in me that he could not produce without them. He was trying to get me to do some things that I would not do without them. Hear me. We want to control so much. But when we throw our hands up and we say, God, I give it to you. I give it to you, God. You got to do it. You got to work it out. You got to fix it. You got to navigate me through it, God. You've got to do it. His timing is impeccable. So last night I cooked. Y'all, I know. Don't say it too loud. Okay. Well, last night I cooked. And I had a taste for meatloaf, right? I'd had a taste for meatloaf for 2 days, right? I was like, listen, I really want some meatloaf. So I fixed the meatloaf last night. Now, I've done a vegan meatloaf. My husband and I did vegan meatloaf. I've made a couple of those, but I made a meatloaf with some meat last night, right? And when I tell y'all, if that meatloaf was so fire. When I tell you that meatloaf, listen, it's the kind of meatloaf where you know the next morning it's going to be even better than it was last night. It's the kind that you want to eat cold, like you know it's good. It's going to be good cold because it was so good hot. You know it's going to be good cold. And last night, the juices just seeped up. Come on, somebody. But I made a meatloaf. Now, the thing about me is I can cook. I'm actually a great cook. I chose not to cook. In order for God to get me to cook more regularly, he had to send the girls. Now, I know my husband probably is like, why couldn't you just cook when it was just me and you? I'm not even going to put that comment up there, Timothy T. Johnson. I'm not doing it. He's talking about I'll never cook again. No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that. We're not going to say that. But he knew that having the girls here and the weight of that would require some things to come out of me that I literally was like, oh no, I'm not. I'm good. I'm done. I'm done. No, you're not done. Because there were some things that my husband was supposed to get that he wasn't getting because I was caught up in me, past traumas, past hurts, past disappointments. And it was not fair to him because he didn't do it. So God sent the girls to draw things out of me that I had suppressed, repressed, and was refusing to allow to fully come forward. When God is desiring to produce something in your life, he is not a magician. He doesn't wave a magic wand. Ding. It's not how it works. He sends a person or people. He sends a person or people. That's why our obedience to him, his word, and his timing is so important. And when we fail to do that, it's not that you get thrown away. It's not that. Because all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. All of them. All of them. Even the months that I did not cook, that worked together for my husband's good. All of it works together for your good. And we have to know that so that we don't get caught up in regret and living a life of regret and being in a place of regret. If there are things that you want to work on, if there are things that you want to change, change them, but live not in the space of regret. Do the work. Yesterday, I was talking to my therapist. Y'all, I have a full-time therapist, baby. Listen, we've been meeting every week because of the weight of all the things that I was dealing with. So yesterday, I had my appointment with my therapist, and we were talking about some goals that I set in our first meeting, some things that I was working on, and she was smiling so big. She said, like, you have been working on so much all at the same time, and you're doing it. Like, you're making the changes, you're making the adjustments, you're doing the work. She said, you should be proud of yourself. And I said, I am, because I made a conscious decision to be the best version of me that I can. And that means me dealing with me. It means me working on me, fixing and adjusting my expectations of people, my expectations of my husband, fixing and adjusting my expectations in relationships, fixing and adjusting my expectations in business, fixing and expecting my expectations with the girls, fixing and expecting my adjusting my expectations of myself, and knowing that God's divine timing is impeccable. I've been so used to forcing things, making things happen. Just call me Miss Make It Happen. But this is a season where God doesn't want you to just make it happen. He wants you to get in sync with his timing and trust it's already done. It's already complete. It's already finished, because it changes the way you move. It reduces your stress and your anxiety and the pressure that you feel. You don't have to change anyone but you. This isn't about you causing anybody else, manipulating anybody else, forcing anybody else, making anybody else change. It's about you changing and choosing change. God's divine timing, y'all, is impeccable. It's impeccable. And do you know how amazing it is to make changes in your life? Not because you're afraid you're going to lose someone or afraid you're going to lose something, but because you recognize that it's in your best interest, that it's what God wants for you. You're not doing it to impress anybody, right? You're doing it of your own free will. Now, as a woman, y'all, I'm not gonna lie. There are times when I want to make my husband do stuff. I'm gonna make him do it. Oh, you're not gonna do it? Oh, you gonna pay then. Oh, you gonna pay. Y'all know how we make men pay. Y'all know we cut the faucet off. We clank it up, clink, clink, right? And God dealt with me so bad about that. He was like, nah, that's not how you're gonna do this. That's not how you're gonna do that. Hey, Natalie, how you doing, doctor? That's not how you're gonna do that. This notion that we can just, that it's okay to just manipulate people into doing and force people into doing what you want them to do and what you think they should do, it's not okay, y'all. It's manipulation. And manipulation is a form of witchcraft. Now, are we going to operate in witchcraft, or are we going to operate in the love of God? Which one? Because you can't do both. You can't do both. You got to choose which master you're going to serve. You're going to serve you being able to control and manipulate people, or are you going to control God? Are you going to try to control it, or are you going to let God control it and you submit to God? I made a choice, and I'm not saying that I won't have to keep making this choice. I will. I'm going to have to keep making the choice over and over and over again. It's not a one-time choice. It's a consistent choice. Choosing in every situation how I'm going to respond. Choosing in every situation to lead with love, to allow love to guide me, and not to be caught up in how it makes me look when someone else does something, right? And that means that when I find myself in situations, I have to choose God's way and not my way or the highway. Now, I've used my way or the highway, right? And it produced some stuff, but it wasn't lasting. God's way produces lasting change. The changes I'm making currently, I'm not making because my husband said I've got to change. I'm not making because anybody else said I have to change. I'm making because I recognized my need to change. And God said, so you gonna do it or not? And I decided it's time for me to make some changes. When you operate on God's time schedule and you do things God's way, the outcome will always be more amazing than you could have even imagined. My husband wanted to make me cook. Making me cook doesn't produce that meatloaf that I fixed last night. Me cook can get you a meal, but it won't have the love in it. You understand? There's a difference. So today, let's honor God's timing. Let's operate in God's timing and recognize that even when we've moved ahead of God or behind God, He's causing all of it to work together for our good because He already knew. I pray this word blessed you guys. I pray that you've been encouraged. I pray that you have gotten something that you needed today. And I pray that you will take these words and apply them to your life throughout the day, the week, the month, so that you can truly see the overflow in October that God desires for you to see. My husband said meatloaf for breakfast. I can't have it. I can't have it, man. Because I got to go get blood work done today. But I'm telling y'all, God has a plan and it's working for your good. You guys have an absolutely amazing and incredible day. Know this, know that I absolutely love you guys to life and life more abundant. And there's nothing that you can do about it. Be blessed. Mwah.